let's give a hearty welcome to Aaron Draplin.
Thanks. What is this thing? Siri, what time's lunch? Pretty cool. Let me get it out of the way. I don't want to break anything. All right, you guys, thank you for coming. A little rusty right now because I haven't done any of these this year. The last couple things I did were in October. I went to Denver twice, bookends in between Adobe Max, right? So we got back in November, and it was pretty busy all in November, and we launched the new website. And then I worked all December to sell the merch that we sell. If you guys bought anything in December, thank you so much. Because with the new site working in like kind of 2024-ish, the last thing was built in 2004, because it was actually the R word, responsive. It works on cell phones and iPads and all this cool stuff, so we have noticed a really incredible uptick. Thank you. So, of course, devastated on November 5th. Don't know where I stand on that still, but we were very busy, medicated, we'll just say, with all that. And then January, I kind of took a month off to reset and clean everything up, and then figure out the couple things I'll do in the spring. And this is pretty much the only thing I'm gonna do this spring, because it gets me close to my mom, who's in Heartland, right? So Buffalo's all pissed, and what was the other one that's all pissed? Omaha was pissed, and beautiful people. So to come all this way and do a little workshop, I don't even know what that means. Maybe this is just more of a kind of a fun, spirited show and tell, right? And like anything like I do, I try to be an open book and really celebrate learning about graphic design, being open to offering up my little goofy tips and tricks and things, because one of the lessons you learn with like coding people, code guys, they share how to get over something. And graphic designers don't do that. They guard their stuff, and they're, I found this first, and it's all, everything's been done before, right? So the previous, that was always inspiring me to see a buddy have a hard time, and then share some cool tip or trick or technique or something. So today, it's gonna be a pretty mixed bag of some of that stuff. It's gonna go all over the place, because I don't like to come to this thing planned. Tonight, we have, an hour, and then there's gonna be, if 75 people came to this, what's tonight gonna be like? We have 25-year-olds here from Detroit. It's incredible. Well, this isn't supposed to happen. So none of this shit was ever supposed to happen to me. When you go on the new site now, let me see if I can get this to work here. You go on the new site now, all this stuff. I just spent the last 4 summers working on a new website. Now, my old website, it will be all on here, all the archives. We're working to get 4,700 posts from 2004 to November on this thing. That's coming. How do you go through 4,700 posts, right? So we're gonna do 100 a day or something for 2,000 years or something. But to go and say, every gig that I have been so lucky to do was on here somewhere, and if we go back to 2018 or 16 or whatever it was when I was here, 16. Look at that year of 2018. This is what I did the last 4 summers. It was cataloging all of these things into one, even if it's only just for me, one place to celebrate the improbable quality of me pulling off, number one, a life that I liked being creative, a life making a living and taking care of those around me, a life where I got ahead in graphic design. Even that is not supposed to happen. Where I'm from, this shit doesn't happen. So to share this in all these places, to come here, this is an incredible resource you guys have here. I knew that back in 2016, but all this stuff is on here. So these last 4 years, for me to load all this stuff up, I was on a talk yesterday with a conference in Australia, and one of the general criticisms, if you will, of the new site, and people were confused, was, why did you show 400 logos? And I just said, because every one of them is a story. This is my friend Abby, my buddy Mark Phillips' older sister. I knew Abby 30 years ago in northern Michigan. Abby has a kick-ass vintage store in Kalamazoo called Golden Roller Skate. And of course, I made her a logo. This is my buddy. Now, guess what the paycheck was on for this? Like, nothing. big old zero. What do they call it? Like just a zilch. So you go one over, and what if this Paramount Records for David Rawlins, incredible David Rawlins? Well, there was some fee here, but in my mind, I'd rather tell a story if I got to work for David Rawlins. You know, David and Jillian Welch, you know, the reedy voice and all that, you know, David Rawlins. He's got a reedy voice on the phone. So Aaron, I think it should be in a circle, you know, hey, okay, you know. My answer to the youngster yesterday on this Q&A was, I'm gonna show everything, because that stacked up to a life in graphic design. And it's not just your best 10, that's effective, but I want people to see that I was making shit in 1998 and things and stuff. And maybe there are some sensibilities, even when I was starting out, that still work its way through the, now here's the thing. To do something like this and show something like this, this is the cream of the crop, because these are things I finished, got paid, sometimes not paid, but I handed it to a client and we were done. There's a lot of stuff you'll never see due to just being professional about they canceled it, or someone got fired, or I got downsized, they got downsized. There's lots of stories. But also within this logo thing, to go through and say, there's been a lot of stuff that just hasn't made the cut. So here's the thing. You know, I'll sell one of these right now, $1,500. Right, you could be that right now. Or you saw a move in one of these things and said, there's something there, Draplin. What is that? Could you tweak this way? Yes. I just don't want these things to go away. Like, I have to get rid of this one because I think I took this out of here and put it on my site and made it like a little snowflake or something. So, you know, there's things here that may or may not have legs, but maybe that could be a different form of arms around an O or around something, right? Or U or something. I don't know. So to now have this website that cements all this, I'm not used to this because I haven't had an updated website, and I didn't really need one either because I was just keeping busy. What a privilege. Now to have an updated website, you have to feed it. You have to keep it, you have to remind people that you just did 4 summers of your life trying to get all this stuff on here and show everything and list everything and take all the time and things and stuff and pack it into one place and really think about how it works on a phone. Everything was tested on a phone, everything was tested on an iPad, everything was tested, you know, everything was tuned up with proper syntax and punctuation and things like that. I'm really proud of this, right? But I am going so fast and so wild, I'm forgetting I have a website. Like my girl Lee will say, you need to go and tell people there's a new website. Not everyone saw it come out on November 28th. So, you know, this is what I'm up against, right? You know, now to make something fun like this, purely for joy, because I'm tired of everything being ironic, I'm tired of everything being a big this. I want to make things that 8-year-olds could look at and go, I like that too. You know, do we have any 8-year-olds here? Maybe a couple. I think we have a 5-year-old, maybe. I'll watch the language, you know. Okay, I'm sorry. But see, the idea is, you know, in Portland, Oregon, where it's everyone's policing each other, who is the hippest and isn't the hippest and all that bullshit, you know. You get your buddy who's 48 going, oh, come on. You know, what is this? You know, but their kids 8 and they like it. So, you know, for me to have, this is what's capturing me now. So what you don't see in my world is you don't see when, I'm trying to think of the things that I donate to churches. If they knew what a heathen I was, it would have stopped a lot. But, you know, guys will see this and say, could we get this, just say peace, in this color? And I don't want to fill out the paperwork for the form, for the 1099. I don't care about the money. I don't want to have to track Phyllis down in some AP, or accounts payable, 9 months later and then have my heart broken. Just take it, you know, and I do a lot of that stuff, right? So when we get to make something fun like this, it's just purely, you know, grab one of these, you guys, for just me testing the waters of just absurdity even, kind of. There's no price tag on this, you know. There's some stickers and things, sure, but anyway. So to open up my life and show you guys this stuff, I mean, I can show you some tips and tricks. I have a couple prepared for you. I can show you some of my most recent projects. I can, some of it you gotta put the little thing in and not say a goddamn thing about it because I can get in trouble. So we have a blood oath here. I won't say shit about Draplin's gonna show today. I hereto, therefore, divided by the angle of the dangle to the coefficient of the hypotenuse. Just kidding. Okay, thank you. Okay. Who's running the show, okay? See, those are Don Rickles-isms. Who remembers Don Rickles, right? So when you do this, you go, and you look over, you go, ma'am, check your husband's heart. Like there's no one sitting there. But if one of your things lands flat, then you do the thing and you go, not fun, huh? Show a little life. And then you go back. Because we watched Don Rickles do this one time. He was like 1,000 years old. We went and saw him at this creepy casino in Rhode Island before a show in Boston where I smuggled in 11 people to a HOW conference. That's something you can't talk about either. Because, those HOW conferences are like $2,500 until these guys reach out to me and they go, we don't care about, I won't name any of their names, Jessica Walsh. We don't care about any of that stuff. I know me either. But we want to come see your show, Draplin. All right, come to the back. There's a door. The three of you, and I open the door, there's 11 dudes from some college, I don't know, some Commonwealth bullshit, I don't know. And I got them all in, and I said, don't touch anyone, don't taste anything, don't just sit down, and then get out of here. And that was like 30 grand worth. So anyway, to show you guys like what I've been working on, right? It's just be cool with it, because this just went up. Now listen, I'm not a country music guy. I like the Outlaws, your Willies and your Whalens and all those Johnny Cashes, and Chris Christophersons and shit. I like all that stuff, and I like some country alternative stuff, your Uncle Tupelos and Sun Volts and Jason Isbell's and things like that. But I get to work for a guy named Chris Stapleton, and it is as big as it's going to get in a lot of realms, definitely for someone like me. But, I can just show you guys, like, this is what's on their website right now. So I'm allowed to show this because this is live, right? And just to show you guys, like, what they get from me, they get all these elements, they get the type, and then it's up to them to go in there and do things like, one event at a time. And I have to kind of show them where the things can reside. And then here it is in a square, just for your like Instagram square. We'll probably make them the new, 1350 by 1080. See, that's another nail in the coffin for Aaron Draplin. Because if I'm downshifting, I'm not going and adjusting 4,600. I have 4,700 posts on my old Draplin.com. And I don't know what it is, 4,800 posts on my Instagram from 13 years. You have to be cool with the square, So when we make these things for them, I build a component package. And what's interesting is, this is just to show them if you have a lot of stuff, it's going to invade the hat, keep his beard clear, whatever, But what's there's for your story, right, that dimension. But what's really interesting is it's already being murdered because they are at that level where this dissipates out to all the different markets. Each market has a venue that a kid opens up and reformats all their sizes and puts their little thing down in the corner and whatever they're going to do. And by the end of the year, you will see this have 17 different browns because different monitors, different calibrations, different things. Brown is a tough one to mix, etc. But the idea is I got to do the last one. And really, it's just a reciprocal kind of quality. Like the last one was on white, so let's go on something dark just to pull these things out. Maybe the more fun way to show you guys is to say, okay, Chris Stapleton, because we have good internet here, tour, right? And you'll see this start to explode. This is what I did a couple years ago, right? And you can see it's already getting taken. Like look at the type with the big gaps. I could back my mom's Jeep Mini Cherokee through that shit right there. I didn't do that, but I made the graphic. I made the stuff. And I built a couple treatments, and then you can see like the typeface already gets away from us. But see, this is what happens when you're at that level. We saw Chris last summer in Portland, and he did the Clark County Amphitheater, 25,000 people, sold all the way out. The next night, Seattle, 2 nights back-to-back, like Taylor Swift, 46,000 people, sold out back-to-back. That Chris Stapleton. Now, gentle guy, you cannot beat the Kentucky out of him, sweetheart, yes ma'am, no ma'am, just charm the pants right off an Aaron Draplin, whatever that means. But, he really is that, with raging with talent. And I'll just say, as a guy who's always suspect of another one of these hard-drinking outlaws rolling in off the road and making some songs about rawhide and, I don't know, the kerosene and diesel smoke and daddy's hands and all this shit. Just so you know, Stapleton was the valedictorian of his class. Like, he's a smart guy. They know what they're doing. He's just bridging this gap between unlistenable shit about, I don't know, pickup trucks and DUIs on the weekend, whatever all the Luke Bryan's and shit sing about, I don't know. And then daddy's hands is a big category. Daddy's hands, it's a big thing. Trope, My dad's hands were like my hands, like a 5-pack of Johnsonville brats. It's just disgusting. This mouse finger is it's just disgusting. So, okay, I just told you a little story about Stapleton. Who's got a question? And please, don't freak out. Just rip it, because send me on a path. Because I have a couple things prepared, but I also want to see, what the people would want to know. Because more and more and more, before the pandemic, when I was doing 45 shows a year and 50 shows a year, you're really connected to kids, doing the workshop during the day, doing the talk that night, the next morning doing a paid workshop for professionals in whatever town you're in. You really try to get your money's worth. When you go to Omaha, you are on the clock all day long. They're at some school. But you're connected. Just as I was jumping out of that pace, people were starting to say, what's your thoughts on AI? And I can just tell you right now, I've used it to help me not write my site. I've had buddies write their things with AI. Just help me tune up the little bit of generative fill to put more wood in the background. That's incredible. But using it to generate a Chris Stapleton thing, that's a little weird. Because they all kind of look the same, right? Who knows? The type is so weird. So then, who's got a question just to see what happens? Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about maybe what the process was to work for a client at this level? Did you show up with 3 illustration ideas and they were like, we want that one, or what do you go through with that?
Yeah. See, I don't know what I can show right now because I don't want to. Okay, just shh.
You opened it up.
Shh. Oh, just.
Get your phone out.
Somewhere they picked one of those. But to answer your question, think of it like this. What was your name again, man? Devin. So if Devin is super professional, I might show him 5 because he has to take it in front of a board of a committee of people. We don't want to make it any more work for him or his team or whatever you want to call it. But if it's me and you, and we're buds, and that's kind of what's going on with these guys I work with on Chris, I'll show you 30 things because they're quick gestures. Because what I want to show them is I want to show them a plume off the ass of a peacock. And you can pick. Because from this spectrum to here, it's conservative, pretty straightforward, to getting a little out there, psychedelic. Because he's open to that. Chris at least, to just getting where that's just weird. Now, it's hard to show that. Because in that scenario, I'm trying to arm him so he can effectively go and show those 5 or 6 because that was budgeted and that was the expectations. But here's the thing: if he quoted me 5 or 6 because he's hired me, I'd probably show 8. But that's a different, stringent quality. If we're buds, I'll show you as much as you need until you love it because I can work quick that way. Now that's dangerous too. I know people tell you there is no science to any of this shit. Always over-exceed, always delight, and always say, I know it's 5 to 6, Devin, but I got 10. If it's too much, it's going to complicate your day. Let's pick the best 5 and let's just call it cool. We have that kind of dialogue because, first of all, before I know how many to show or not show, it does come down to me copping a feel of what I'm getting into. And also letting them, that sounds terrible, get a little grabby with me and say, well, what should we expect? And I'll say, I'm here for you. This isn't for my portfolio. I'm going to show it, but let's make something awesome. So what was the last thing you guys did? It was on a white background? Don't do that. Now we're getting somewhere. So I'll make them feel very comfortable with me and make it a little fun game. And say, hey, if you're cool with me showing 17, I will. I don't want to freak you out, though. That overwhelms some large committees and shit sometimes. I'm trying to think of what I can show you that's kind of fair game. So give me a second here. Because, I haven't done, this is just new stuff. I can show you this. This is a concert series happening in Portland this summer. And I've worked with these guys for a bunch of years. And we're refining ourselves down to where it's like, I knew what I was going to do. And yet I showed them 3 quick options. So here's what they look like. Now remember, there's 9 or 10 bands that come in. And if the device is some fun rondolo type with a little angle coming off it, and then a gradient map over these things. Because here's the deal. When you get these images, some are black and white, some are full color, some are studio shots, some are on an iPhone. This was on an iPhone, you can tell, because they're so ironic. Hey, I'd never even heard of Royal Otis. They could be called Otis. Has anyone heard of these guys? See, okay, because you're young and you're concerned about this. What am I concerned about? Some Berenstein's Bears book from 1970. I don't know, probably. So you have to equalize this fairly rocky set of submissions. So these are strategies of how to do that. Okay, so I say, okay, here's another one. You guys heard of this guy, Jamie XX? Cool record covers. So we have a fan back there. I never, I like what I like. I know my things, but that's often pigeonholed. And then here's the third one. You've heard of the Roots. So I'm just trying to show them blue, green, super dark. Make them all look cool, but it's a series. To the next little 3. Different thing. Throw some lines in the back there, a little Lester Beale. Stretto type. Same thing. Maybe the lines change from thing to thing. They've got scritchy, scratchety. If it's a real chill wave, kind of like a band called Starfucker. You guys heard of them? Portland. Okay, so you know what this is. Now, Fanagram is the big man that night. I kind of knew what that was, but they would get, the Roots got this, because the Roots are kind of cool, and, okay. And that's one more thing. And then the third one is just, what if it's just my thick lines or something, but it's a different shape, and here's how these things work. But as a series, think of it like a deck of cards. The Roots get the black background, someone's going to get a brown, someone's going to orange, red, whatever. So to show you guys what we landed on, you can see here, they picked the first one, and I guess it's probably how would I do that? One of these like this. You can see Dinosaurs coming this summer, my favorite band from high school. Last year, who should we bring? Dinosaur Jr. I'm 51 years old. They got him. Because if you think I give 2 scratches of a kneecap about, well, who do I? She's pretty cool. I've never even heard of Men I Trust. Never even heard of it. Probably great. I won't be there that night, okay? I tried to listen to this. I got caught in some fiddle solo or some shit. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone, but when I worked for the Dave Matthews Band, I got caught in some kind of a weird short saxophone solo. I don't even know what you call it. I don't know. I almost didn't make it out. So as a survivor, you pick. I'm not going that night. Maybe I'd go to this. He seems cool. I just like it that he's defied the odds. I like this guy. He's cool. We'll probably go to this just because I played a show one time with Questlove, and he had all these people around him, in Austin at South by Southwest, and I couldn't get a handshake. Just wanted to go in and say, hey, I warmed up the stage for you. They brought him in to do play a 45 little set. It was pretty cool, but there was all these people around him and shit, and whatever. So, you can see here, that's just the 11 by 17s, and I have to go put them into squares. And all the little sizes and things change. And then what happens when it just needs to be 2-to-1 license plate? Well, this is the one that goes now on your phone, or it goes on a series, or a big thing, right? So, you know, you can just see, this is the kind of job I do. Now, check it out. There's no DDC in the corner. There's none of this, like, hurrah. But see, I will lovingly show that stuff because I got to work for my friends who bring cool music to Portland. And it's downtown, and they're super diverse with the acts. They bring in young people acts. One night is the Americana thing. One night is the jam band. Those are the biggest ones that we sell. Last summer was something called, I don't remember. You know, you'll see it on this thing. So, you know, now when these guys go show this stuff, there are those graphics. It's just that immediate, right? Now, when you go to my site, you know, and Draplin.com, and take a look at this stuff, see, this is what took me 4 years to say, okay, one of these jobs here, and rock and roll, this section took me an entire summer. So somewhere in here is PDX Live, festivals. There's PDX Live, and you can see there's a couple years ago, and that was a device from Modest Mouse, or White Bar, a little bit of Zim Zam coming off the stuff, different, Tenacious D, Goose, unlistenable, but good-looking kids, you know. Shaky, he's gone like every year. I guess he's a big act. That was cool, you know. So then you can see last summer, a little bit different thing. I've never even heard of Biba Doobie, but we get 19 different shots. So you can see what I did. I took it and reduced it down to a yes and no bitmap just to equalize them. Like that's the shot we got for Explosions in the Sky, just a silhouette. So you have to build a system. So listen, I know that this isn't the most exciting of stuff, but this is what makes a living. And you have to be graceful when it's the tough stuff like this as much as when it's the things that are celebrated. Maybe the Stapleton's a little more celebrated because it's bigger, you know? No one even knows I work on this. Until, like, my buddy this year was like, I could tell you gave more love to the Dinosaur Jr. Right. Yes?
Question, so when you're presenting 3 or 5 concepts to someone, how do you take ego out of it? I'm sure there's one that you like more than maybe the other
Oh,
ones. But how do you objectively say, take your pick and we'll run with it?
Well, I think it goes back to where it's like, if it's a really tight group, I just get them comfortable with me and say, this is yours. You're gonna guide me as much as I guide you. If you pick C, I'm not gonna show you any lemons. Be careful with the red herrings just to fill space, because they'll pick that stuff, you know, and people do that, right? Well, be careful, right? So don't show anything that wouldn't work Monday morning. Pretend it's Friday, and we're in a pinch, and you gotta pick something and help them get there quick, right? Quicker, or whatever. So, ego, you can't show anything that you're phoning in. Of those 3 quickie options I showed, they all would have worked. Because it's different than last summer, and it's different the first summer I did. This is my 3rd summer doing it. And here's the deal. I got, what day is today? It's what, Thursday? So I got my files on, is it? Well, I'm taken. I'm sorry. My apologies to break all the hearts in the room, all the hopefuls, but this hunk of man meat has been off the market for many years. But what's that? I'm sorry? Oh, it's a turquoise ring because I may or may not have been conceived in the desert in northern Arizona. But my mom's here to clarify that later on at the merge day. If you want, I'll tell you guys the story why, you know. But anyway, I just try to set a tone to say, this is yours. If I show you 3, I know how to get to Matt and Trevor. By the way, I said, I got files on a Friday. We had it done by a Friday, 7 days. Remember stereos and those things you go up and down and ohms and frequency? I don't even know how to work. You know, it goes this, it does this. I don't even know, you know. Jobs are like that. Sometimes it's big pay, horrible timeline, way down. We manifested that timeline to be done in a week. Push it up. No emails about emails, no bullshit. We just got it done. So I set that tone also. I'm here to work nights for you. Don't push me around. You know, they know, these guys know me. But if it's someone professional, I know how to handle that and completely strip my ego out of it. Check it out. What happens, the next question, what happens when they say, let's see D, and it's a big old lemon? It's my job to deliver. Listen, take notes, be gracious, and get the paycheck. Sometimes that's going to happen. It's not for me. I have to trust, someone who sees a different vision. I'm not going to wake up with it. But my responsibility was to hand off a tight package and good files and easy to work with. Because remember, this thing goes to 2 other people that go and tear it apart to promote it to all the different markets around the Northwest, right? So I have to be efficient the way I hand off this thing, and be efficient so I can just be done in 7 days, right? So, the larger answer is when they pick the D and it's rough, it hurts. But I understand there's pitfalls to this stuff, and the quality of, if I don't want any heartbreak, no one's messing with this. See what I'm saying? Pick your battles, kind of, right? When I'm in the trenches for a paycheck, it's all-out war, and sometimes it's gonna be tricky. There is really no set of perfectly prescribed. Listen, some numbnut right now is selling some podcast telling you how to do it by pointing at things. You know about that? Those guys who go, oh, you don't know how to, well, how do I make a logo? How do I that's how you do it. Go look at their portfolios. I'm being serious now. Go trace that influence. By the way, when you get real close to the influencers, you get real close, breath smells like a dog's, foot, or dog's, dog shit, as they say in the industry. I mean, whatever, you meet these guys, it's like, come on, man. There's every version of Tony Robbins in every version, probably in the book world, in the library, where every kind of version of that stuff. It sells. You take a pandemic with a bunch of kids who are super vulnerable and freaked out and getting laid off, and suddenly a couple of these guru guys have every answer. Until you go look at that portfolio you can't find. That's weird. Now, I'm not making a reel about that, because then I'm going to get in trouble. You see the reel I made this morning? Disgusting. That's the stuff I like. I like the stuff that makes people go, I think I'm just going to unfollow him based on his face. Keep me around for a couple more weeks. So, it happens. Happens with my buddies sometimes, but the last thing I'll say about that is, when you go to the D, sometimes you got to do D, E, F, and just do it. And then explain in a gentle way if they ask for G, H, I, and J, K. You guys had 3 killer ones at the start. Now you're starting to push me around. We're out of scope. If you don't see what I did in the first 3 and then the second 3 and maybe a couple more, I'm not the right person. I'll go back to making these. And then they'll shape up pretty quick. So anyway, I saw a hand go up here. Yeah.
I was just wondering if you have like a standard issue timeline, because I feel like as an iterative designer, you could just go right.
Really what it is now is, and this is going to sound like a big old baby and a big old megalomaniac, but I have to say, can we just get in and out quick? I can't spend 6 weeks with you guys. I want to sleep in. I want to go, what's that place with the sun? I want to go outside. I want to, it's all jokes and shit, but it's like, I got ahead by saying yes to everything. And those timelines were all over the place. So what are you going to do, It's tricky, because there are certain things in here that are still kind of open, and they're a year old. I just have to move on sometimes. You know what I mean? And it's tricky. I love working. I love, working for folks. But, what happens when you, like this Panchico? You ever heard of who's here heard of a band called Panchico from the UK? Right. Me either. But check it out. They had this weird cult record come out in the early 2000s. They're my age. And they're kind of a Radiohead. And they do 30 shows across America, and they are filled to these kind of techie, bleaky, blorpy, Radioheady kind of things, but rock too. And I showed them this for round 1. Like, I just said, okay, Draplin, just do some thick lines for us. All right. I showed him this, I showed him that, and I showed him, this. And I said, what if it has okay, now there's 3 with a little border. Here's one with a little fade in the back, and then another fade in the back, another fade in the back, and maybe that's 2 options I showed him. And the guy just said, we'll take it right here. We'll take it. So you can see here what we landed on. There's the little thing that goes on the story of your phone, vertical of your phone. And you can see here is the 1080 by 1080. And here is the poster they're going to print. And you can see how it's Dublin, Glasgow, Leeds. This is just their UK tour. They don't need to print 8 posters, different posters. They made one, a big stack of those things. That'll be starting in about a month here. What was fun about this is they knew what they wanted, they asked for it, and then I delivered so nervous because I'm used to showing 17 things to sell it. And they picked the second thing. Like, that's beautiful. And I made a good stiff paycheck, and we were in and out because they are forced to keep moving. They have to work on their merch, their t-shirts, their things, and the sets, practice. These are older guys. They're not 24, they're 44 and stuff. So anyway, when I show you that, like, that is the little, I get a little cry-ish and go, can we just be done? Well, that surprised me, Now, other things in here, and I don't need to drag it all out, but, other things in here were harder to do and harder to get done. But I'll just say, as I look back at some of this stuff here, less and less, there's less and less of those. Because I will set a tone at the start and say, if you guys want to work together, I have to get done, Are you okay with that? If you aren't, I understand. And everyone's cool, because I'm trying to downshift. I'll try to talk about a little bit of that tonight. If I'm 51 years old, I don't want to be 52 and be battling a kid who's 22 because it's a different set of things. I need to get out of the way sometimes. I've hogged a lot of light for a lot of years. Kind of. So how do I creatively meet the demand like I did all those years? And how do I creatively slow it? It's really hard to do, But I saved my money, I was frugal. Lee makes fun of me, like, Aaron got a sweatshirt in 2014, still wearing it. Well, Fugazi, you'd see those guys, and there were holes in their elbows, and you didn't need to have 47 sweatshirt. You know what I mean? It's a philosophy thing, And my sister used to spray me with Febreze because she'd say, "Who wears a T-shirt like 5 days in a row?" It's like, what race are you trying to win? Who uses the most water, washing shit you don't need to wash? But we have different, All right, who's got a question here? And then I'll show a tip. Yep, in the corner. Yeah.
What are some tips or advice that you might have for someone to go from making the free church logo to Chris Stapleton, like, aside from your work and your portfolio?
What was the first one?
What are some tips and advice you would have from going from making the free logo outside of your own work and, your skill set and your portfolio speaking for itself? What would you advise and tips to get to that Chris Stapleton level?
Yeah.
What's that journey look like, and what are some, is it through networking, through, marketing yourself? What would you say is the best?
Yeah, it's hard to give advice on that because, the way to do it, the way to think about it, for me to think about it is, what did I feel like when I was starting out? Because the momentum after a while gets you those, well, we see his work, we can trust him, seems like an amicable guy. We heard him on a podcast, we can stand him. Because when I got called from Chris Stapleton, I tried to sell myself away from it and say, you guys, do not Google what I said about Dave Matthews Band, much less Daddy's hands on some Luke Bryant plastic surgery nose. That shit's not real. You know what I mean? Don't look at that, because how big is Stapleton? He didn't answer, because I saw his record on my wall. So I assumed that he was another Sturgill Simpson, Margot Price, Jason Isbell, who was medium. No. He was right up there. It's even going bigger and bigger now. I just saw 5 nights with George Strait. Again, 3rd summer in a row, all arenas. Like, the biggest thing in the biggest market. That's what they do, 5 shows. Okay, fine. I don't know. I don't know what to say, other than if you want to manifest it, it's going to take some make-believe. Because before I ever got, yeah? Oh, the mic? Sorry. Watch this. So before before, sorry, there's lots of ways to do it, but there is no formula. And then how do you get you can cold call people and say, I got a good idea. Maybe just make some t-shirts for that you're aiming at, but you gotta be gentle, you gotta be professional, and you can't waste anyone's time. Because if someone can smell that his files are a little janky, they're not gonna hire you. See what I'm saying? So what about when a kid asks me, how do I break into the thing? Learn to spell, be gracious, say thank you to the journeys and to everybody who helped you today. These are little things. So you don't scare anyone away, and then be really efficient with your files. That's just good citizenry. But there's nothing wrong with cold calling, but you just have to be on your A game, Now, in my case, there was eyeballs on me, so I had some proving grounds when I tried to sell myself away from Stapleton and say, you guys, I just work for bands that make 1,000 records, and it's okay, and it's passion. I don't make any money. I don't care. I like to just, I'm not a record designer. I know record designers, but it's a different ballgame, and I'm not a poster designer. I know rock poster guys. Oh, you ought to see air take out of the room when Aaron Draplin shows up and goes, $20 for Wiener Dog posters, and they're trying to sell some $300 Death Cab for Cutie from you know what I'm talking about. Some $250 Fish poster that, just Dead and Company or what are Pearl Jam, Fish, all that kind of shit. The big ones, they'll sell. And then I show up with Wiener Dog, and it takes the air out of a flat stock room or something, in South by Southwest. But I'm gentle about how I approach that gang because I'm a guest. And I can't come out swinging, and I can't outfish Fish and out Foo Fighters, those guys, right? So you have to make your own little niche and then celebrate your buddy's crusty little band, the best, whatever. But it's hard to answer because, I got the momentum by having retainer jobs, which were for snowboarding companies. And how did I get that job? Because I knew those guys from giving half of my youth in my 20s to the West and going up and down to Alaska to work in the summers to save for computers. And I go back and snowboard and spend all the money in the winter. And I met these guys on the hill that later on got jobs, and I got hired. That's kind of nepotism, you know what I mean? So when you meet a kid who doesn't have any of those ins, you have to share your work. You have to do the work. You have to be super versatile, even if there's no eyeballs. But it'll catch. If someone sees that, because what happens if it doesn't catch? See what I'm saying? It's really tricky. There's a lot of years for me, no one saw it, but it was just a hobby, and I knew it was going somewhere. And I had no problem working at night on a Kinko's where I had to swipe my credit card because this was towards the goal, and then washing dishes all day long on a sightseeing train in Alaska. But no one ever wants to do that part. You know what I mean? We all have that. Working for the man and then flying with the Eagles later on that night. No one wants to do that anymore. They want to go get a downloadable podcast course and have it answered. Well, man to man here, bearded creature to goateed creature. I mean, this is disgusting, but you got your shit pretty tight. But I just say you got to put the work in and share it and get going. When you're ready, go for the throat, but do it effectively. Like, who's a band that you love? Foo Fighters. You'd be amazed. Hit me up. I'll try to connect you to the guys from Morning Breath, and let's see what happens. Morning Breath? They do Foo Fighter stuff. You'll see posters they do. How'd they get to them? I don't know. Dave Grohl can rhyme the word quiver with river. Well, he often does. Dave Grohl, anyway, I saw him back in the day. I got to see him as a kid, It was cool. Yeah, Kurt Cobain did not look like he wanted to be up there. It was in January of 1994, a couple months before. He just didn't look like he was into it. And we smelled that, in Salem, Oregon. Anyway, okay. I hope I answered that okay, because I just don't ever want to, fun time we're in politically, fun time we're in America. Mistruth, untruth, misinformation, just general bald-faced lies. And who do you trust? Right? It's just such a weird time. And yet certitude is such a weird thing. How can people sell a pack of lies to 160 million Americans? Well, look who we got, right? That's happened, right? Fun. But yet certitude is like this scary thing. So I try to be careful with certitude. Like, I know the answer to this because I just don't, And I'd rather say, okay, it's gonna take some work and you have to make time to play. And say you just made 10 cool things, put them on your site, link the Foo Fighters and said, hey, I'm the guy for you. Give me a shot. That shit happens, man. Because people don't know how to ask sometimes, right? But also, the Foo Fighters are the Foo Fighters. And you might not get a thing out of it. But what if you got it out of the Poo Fighters? And they can't afford, they're not a Foo Fighter. See what I'm saying? Show it, because you'd be amazed. See? So, I've done a couple of those cold calls back in the 90s for one of my favorite rock and roller, a guy by the name of Jay Farrar from a band called Sunvolt and Uncle Tupelo. And I shouldn't say it on the record, but I'll just say it on the record. He has a horrible art department. Now, Wilco, when they split, Wilco's got a killer art department, okay? So just go look. You'll see it. You'll see it here. But whoever's running the ropes, who's ever running the designs up and down the rope at Sunvolt, whatever, it's just rough. And I'm more of a Sunvolt fan than I am a Wilco fan, right? So it hurts because they could have so much beautiful stuff. Old instruments, old wood, things. So in the 90s, I tried to say, let me see if I can find it. Because I was bummed. This is in 1998. I moved to Minneapolis, and I went and saw Sunvolt, and it was like, I know I can do a better job because I know the other path they were on. And yet, why are they stuck with this crappy logo they have? Because some manager makes that decision, and it hurts. I don't know if I have it on here. Hold on one second. Let me try it. Let me see if I can look. You got to be really careful with these searches, just in general. The whole world watching. But I don't. It'd be really fun to show you if I have that. Let me see if we get down to the T's. Because what I did was I made a packet. I printed them out. I made my case, and I put the packet under the windshield of the Sunvolt van. And I just said, you guys deserve better. I might not be your guy, but you deserve better, and I'm a fan that buys your records, and that's what I said. And I never heard back, and there's a little bit of heartbreak there, but I don't really have it here to show you. I'm not seeing an Illustrator file to click on. I'm sure it's on my archives back, on my cold storage, but I can just show you this. And it's being kind of mean or something, but whatever, It just hurts because this is what they've had for 25 years now, and it's just not up to what it could be, Transmit sound, and it hurts because you have to look on the record to find it. Anyway, there's a Sunvolt record somewhere on here. You'll see it, transmit sound. You'll see it on the back of the record. It doesn't scale well. So when it goes down on the record, it loses, it's too thin. They taught us that on day one of making logos. I showed them things that worked like a stamp. Works this big and works this big on a t-shirt. But you know what? Rock and rollers, sometimes they just don't care. They're just making their records and making their money and doing their thing, and it's okay, And then that hurts an Aaron Draplin because I would have given it away for free just to get up to speed. So you have to understand you're treading in some territory that could sting, you know what I mean? But fuck it, go for it, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Okay, yeah, question. I'll get to you in 1 second. Question. Is this interesting?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be getting to the wild card round pretty quick here. Okay.
So outside of client work, what's keeping you inspired and excited still, and how does that transfer into the work you're doing for your own stuff?
Oh, man. Dangerous levels of blood sugar. We'll just get it right out in the open. That's a fun one to talk about. Aaron Draplin, I had to go in there and I had a 6.25. I'm not necessarily proud of that, but that was 0.75 over the old pre-diabetes, right? Okay. I had to ask my doctor, if I poke my finger and squeeze it, can I squeeze out a little diabetes? Like, is it something you taste? I don't even know what it is, Aaron, this poor guy, But where it's showing up is obviously I'm freaked out by this stuff, And we're doing better. I'm on a certain kind of med and all pretty basic shit you come to find out. But when I go back in there, I take these little things and I say, here's where this is spilling out of me. And I'm trying to do better inside here, this husk of a muskox, right? I'm trying. And what does that even mean? And when you make a sticker, for whatever reason, what is that, So I told the doctor, this one's called internal affairs, because I'm trying to get better at loving what the things I can't see, right? It's easy to be oblivious, and also put a good dose of just being scared and not knowing any better, that kind of thing. It's embarrassing, but maybe there's some youngster here who needs to go figure some of that shit out, and Aaron Draplin did it, but he did it at 48, 4 years ago, and it's coming out of me in ways like this where I'm really thinking about it, and then if I go on some podcast, they say, what did you just do just for the hell of it? And I have these things around. So sure, we sell it, but, there's a story behind that. Or things like this. My little baby sister just went through colon cancer. And I don't want to do the bell ringing and all that. It's just terrifying. But I think she's going to be okay. She followed every treatment. She did everything for 8 months. My brother-in-law, Jacob, my almost brother-in-law, Jacob, was her caretaker. And she said, Aaron, you need to go. It's supposed to go at 45. But I don't like doctors. I don't like things. Can you squeeze out a diabetes, all that stupid shit. On May 3rd, children, tulips, wildflowers of this fine crowd, I want you to think about Aaron Draplin, and I'm going in. I'm going in for the colonoscopy, and I got a little crane to get me up and on the table, and a little bobcat to all the juices, and I don't know what's going on, but why am I even talking about this shit? Well, for Leah, she inspired me to go get my act together because she went through something horrific, and we made some little stickers that she can give out to her friends and talk about these things, right? So, this is stuff that she can have every penny of it, because she kind of got, kind of decimated financially, which no one should ever have to happen. Now, her big brother will do whatever the hell it takes to make sure she's okay, but her friends pushed her into a GoFundMe, and they brought her right back up to where they started in February of last year. So it's pretty cool, right? Cried my eyes out. But to make something like this and tell that story, well, here's the thing. There's a lot of shit in this thing here that is really about that. This is about going on walks. I go on these little walks because I got to get steps in. Sitting on your ass all day isn't cutting it, right? And I was out there, and it's raining on Aaron Draplin out in Portland, Oregon, and I'm sopped. And there's this little white little flapping moth. Like if I got hit comparatively with that thing, it knocked me on. How can that moth go through those things? And I went home and I sketched it and I drew it and made a little sticker. It's not a white moth, but it's just the idea of using your graphic arts to just catalog moments of whimsy that only mean something to you. But the fun part is a little youngster might see this and be like, I like cool little bugs too, or funny little bugs too. So I'm trying to expand into that stuff. And I don't really care if it makes any money, right? So, when you see things like this, bandanas and goodies, because someone said, why don't you put this on a bandana, Draplin? Okay, I will. Now, things get a little out of hand with some of this stuff, but that's just, the matters of the dark arts, metal and all that shit. But I made this one for fun because I might not make it through the night, right? We're in our middle age, But, to make these things, like who here, now that we're all getting to know each other, who here has had a staph infection? Let's just have some fun. A lot of fun, right? Yeah, and the way back, oh yeah, what's up? Okay, well, Well, I had one of those little sumbitches, and you're not supposed to pick it, and then I made a little, that's just called psychedelic pop, because when I went in for that thing, I saw stars when they were digging around with the culture and all that. Anyway, moving right along. Here's a fun one from Michigan. Those stupid stickers you see up north that say love with the dumb V? We made our own that just says fart, And we just got rid of the entire Upper Peninsula because it didn't work typographically. Maybe I could take... You know how much money they make on that stupid shit up around? Don't take the photo. Yeah, okay. Remember we were saying, take a photo. It's for fun. Here it is. Copyright infringement. Yeah, take it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even going to say it because someone's listening right now, but, if we can't make fun of the things in our, my home state here, what does that even mean? Anyway, okay, let me show you guys a couple tips and tricks here. I'll pull this thing around so I can just get this thing real tight, because I don't know if you've heard these things before or saw these things, but let me just show you a couple things in real time that might make you think a little bit about your graphic arts, maybe a smidge different, and let's just see what happens. But these are not fluffy things that are meant to, who can discern the lies from the truth? I've been saying even today, right? But this is actually meant to be tactile and work. So I've done these workshops for years. We've done Skillshare, we've done Dribble, Chroma Course with Skillshare. We have some new things coming that will further consolidate some of the little goodies that I do for my own path of working. But let me just show you this, because I would hope this little sort of weird, unorthodox hack is of interest to you guys, okay? So just check this out. Now, who here has experienced some of this? Now, let's just say it's any shape for that matter, and you've got a pink circle, and you've got, let's just say, a cyan circle, and what you want is these elements to touch perfectly right there. Now, you see, that little line that shows up right there, that means that's connecting piece to piece. But if you turn that off, Command U, it's not going to show you that. So then, now let's just say no one even knows what Command U is on your thing. Snap to point. And you're doing one of these like this, and you're looking at that thing, and you're doing this, and you go, I think I nailed it. Look at that. And then you really zoom in on that stuff, and you go, let's take a look, and you get some of this. Now let's just, for 1 second, check it out. Who's experienced this, right? So check it out. You go, all right, let's align those two. Now those are perfectly aligned, right? And you've done the Command U, snap to point, and you go like this. And see, it's not even doing it. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's just pretend it's there. But you do this. Aaron Draplin's big meat shank of an arm just hits the arrow key, one little notch, and you missed it. It's a phantom click, I call it. It's like putting an extra space somewhere in your document. You don't even know you do it. The cursor's sitting on there, and you think you're doing something else, and you're hitting command, and you're putting CS, or whatever, space, S. You don't even know you do it, and then it prints. That's happened to us because you were clicked on the wrong piece of live type. Okay, here's the hack. So that is a tricky thing because, I'm trying to get that thing to line up. Come on. There it is, okay? But here's the way to really do it. Because here's the deal. Sometimes that thing just doesn't work. I've got the wrong thing toggled on, wrong thing turned off, wrong thing. I don't know. It won't. I have to restart my machine. I'm on a plane. I'm stressed. I'm trying to get it done. I'm making an embroidery. They have to line up, clean it up, and be done. Here's how you do it. So the way to think about it is the bounding box, right? So if you do this, watch this, ready? You bring one down below, you grab it on its left side, you drag it across, it can go really long, go really short, you grab this guy and you align those two. That is mathematically perfect right there. Do it again. So let's just say this thing's over here like this and so on and so forth. You pull this one down below right here and you go, okay, I'm gonna drag this thing really, really long. Because see where that thing shifted over on the box? Grab the second one up above, align it to the edge of the bottom one you pulled across, that horizon line or something, or that event horizon or something. That is mathematically touching now. So I'll do this when I have funny little things like this. Now, granted, if you're inside your grid and you're doing stuff like this, and you know for a fact that that thing is snapping to that point, and you know that they're nicely clicking into these little, because you've got your grid turned on, well, that's nice, until sometimes one is just a click off and a click below, and you thought you had it right, and you phantom clicked a couple things, and you go look, and you can see that extra little edge right there. That happens to me all the time, even though I thought I had it in the little thing. So these are just little ways to ensure precision, right? Here's another quick one. Every now and again, I have to do something that's kind of like, I don't know how to say it. It's like a grid, but I want it to be like this little shape, something like this. Like, let me just see if I can, But I want all those corners to touch. And see, I'm lining these things up this way right now, but it's kind of dangerous because I'm doing it by eyeball, but there's another quicker way to do it where you really nail the precision, okay? So check it out. If these things are these sort of disparate shapes, here's where the starting point comes in. You grab this one right here, Command C, Command F. Now what that means, I just copied it and then placed it up above. We'll put it a different color so you can just see what we're messing with, silver. Now watch this. Working with the bounding box, grab that thing, drag it up to that corner, and now align that little guy down to the corner. See what I'm doing here, right? So now we can say, okay, the known knowns are that thing goes to the bottom, and that thing goes to the left of that. Get rid of the piece below it. We know those are mathematically touching those corners at least. Now down here, once again, you could say something like this, Command C, Command F, another blue box, do that one right to there, and then snap that thing accordingly. I'll show you where this just came into play for me. So that's a quick little hack, but see what you're doing is you're thinking differently. That's a default that the machine comes with. It provides this like certain mathematical certitude, if you will. Where this comes in is stuff like this. There's a band I work for in Portland, that's my favorite Portland band. They were called the Richmond Fontaine. They were kind of an Uncle Tupelo back in the 90s and 2000s and into the, I think they broke up around 2013, but the new band is called the DeLines. And last summer, we worked on their newest record called Mr. Luck and Mrs. Doom. And you can see here, like, the stuff I do, it's like, here is the CD jacket, right? So you can see here, that's the front of the CD, that's the back of the CD. That thing folds down, they come in like this, and then there's a little plastic tray that gets glued onto that, and the CD goes on that, and that CD looks like this, right? There's the parts and pieces. But on this little piece right here, it had something to do with like images being inside an image. See that little thing right there? It looks off to me right now, and it's not off. And it was throwing off the pre-press people in Poland. See what I'm saying? Like they couldn't figure it out, and we're nervous. This is going to show an extra line, and it's got something to do with some postscript thing of when you multiply a photo. Because what that is, that's just I got to zoom in for you. It's just a black and white photo. What am I doing here? Whoops. It's a black and white photo, and then you tone it the brown color of that, the type right here. There's the brown color of the type. You tone it that, you multiply it over that cream of like what would be the desert floor here. And then that thing is consistently grayscale, good black point, good white point. We'll call it brown and nothing at that point, and then lays over that thing. Like you can trust that. But I had to go back in there and I did my little corner trick, and I knew they were mathematically on, like a little checkerboard. Now those are just quick hacks. But why I show you that stuff is because more and more and more the machines will show you everything you need to see. And they'll teach you all the neat tricks and all the cool stuff. But some of the most rudimentary things, they're getting away from us. And you'll start to see it, Never stretch type, basic things like that. Watch your corners, be precise with how you do these things. Watch your margins, watch overprints. One click on an overprint can ruin a design later on that if you don't have the overprint preview on, it can really, bunch things up later on. So, see, when I show those little hacks like that, what I'm most interested in is tactile, down-to-earth tips I can give someone. Not this stuff telling me how you're going to dig out of a hole of debt. I can tell you how I did it. Took every job, I quit buying stuff, and I started paying everything off. That's it. My buddies were chasing women, men, all kinds of shit, in Portland, Oregon, but they were out drinking it up and ripping it around town. And I was working in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to pay off the credit card. And then it was the school loans, and then it was my VW, and then my house. And I'm here to say I've been debt-free since 2012, And that, you can clap about. That tough crowd, huh? You like debt? maybe. Here's the thing. I nursed a credit card from 1996 to 2004. paid the minimum. Who knows what I paid on that damn thing? And that was the first thing I paid off. And somewhere I have a crusty little screen grab, from some 4-bit, 8-bit screen grab from your 2002 Speak and Spell or whatever that happened, 2000, whatever it was. And it says 0.00 on a MasterCard. I had it for 8 years dealing with that shit. Because I go up to Alaska and I would have to fly myself up there on the card. I'd work all summer long and then fly myself back in the card. And then I'd go to college and I wouldn't have a job and it would just, I used graphic design to get myself free, So the next course of order these last bunch of years is just to take care of those around me too, and like my girl Lee, we just chipped a mountain of stuff off for her because I wanted to be free. You know what I mean? Like that's why I do any of this stuff, So yeah, that's the goal. It's not graphic design. I don't know what you. There's a guy that I once a year I see him, he gets all drunked up, and he's like, "Legacy, Draplin, your legacy." Yeah, I don't give a shit. You can't take a bag of legacy to Wells Fargo, and pay off the school loans, and she try. Take a bag of my good looks, clunk, or pay the rent, the good looks. What do you think? Call the security or whatever. Okay, who's got a question? There was one back here that I was deliberately waiting for. And by the way, if we have to, journey approved, we will go into overtime disgustingly. Because, why not? What are we going to do before 6 o'clock, before the big academic explosion happens up here? Okay. Question, yeah.
Yeah, in the spirit of being of service to your clients, I think it was the Pancheco example. I saw you had both an AI file and a PDF, and then maybe a file notes. So are you handing over raw AI files always, still, sometimes not?
Yes, but stripped down.
Okay.
Let's put it to the test, because that's kind of a fun one. It's a good question, because it's dangerous, right? But not at this level. Here's round 5, and you can check my swatches. Oh, no, I'm getting refined. But they're probably still approving dates and things, but somewhere it's going to say final, and that's when I know I can hand it to the group. But maybe it's just this right here. The art form is, yes, it's live, but the reason I leave this thing unmessed with is because they're going to have to reformat into any number of things. I trust them with that. And part of my fee was run it past me. If I don't do the 95% of it, run me past the last 5%. It takes me a minute. I can just help make sure you didn't murder it, right? Things like that. But I give them it up to a point, you can see here, this thing is still live, so you can go in there and put the venue, date, and city. I don't entertain that they're gonna get the perfect kerning, but I got them pretty close, right? So the idea is to make them a system and hand it off and be a good citizen, right? That's kind of the idea, is if you look at this here, it's interesting that you saw that. I know I'm going kind of quick, but solid naming convention the entire time on the way up, because if they looked at and all they got was a PDF for the first 5 or 6 rounds, it is this, whatever it is, Pancheco 2025, round 1, round 2, not some dot final, dot last, all the shit we laugh about and stuff. I get it. But no. As being a good digital citizen, you have to keep them in line and exhibit good craft, and then exhibit, that you've got their back. Because bands throw away files all the time. One of my services is that all that shit's on ice, and if some intern or one of the Chris Stapleton folks screwed something up or something, I've got all that stuff ready to go for them, right? So I provide that with a little bit of trust that they don't, screw it up. But sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Other times people are so on top of things, they're just giving me a list of 17 dimensions, and I just charge a little more to do all the reformats and get into that production haze. And I love that stuff because it's free of heartbreak. It's about precision. And you get through a couple records and you made another couple grand. You know what I mean? That's all good stuff. So be careful with this, though, of course. But, for the most part, I'm pretty trusting with that stuff. Unless I saw someone who was like my handler on the way up, getting a little grabby with it, and I'll make it all outlines and make it a little harder to deal with, just so this one gal doesn't murder things. Because she does. She's just young. She's just starting, and nice person and doing a good job and everything, but I have to protect the brand even from some of their haste and their stress. They're young kids. They bring them in. They'll get the job done, but sometimes at the expense of these little nerdy little idiosyncrasies that we're trying to keep cool between, little nuances or something. So I hope that answers that. Just be careful when you do it. But remember, it's like if I work with you, who asked the question? I look at the person. Yeah. If I work with you and we know each other, it's a dialogue. It's just like, how do you want it? Get me to Z the fastest way. Is it easier if I make it all like unmesswithable? I will. Is it easier if I give you just root files? Here you go. But in the end, I try to exhibit round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, and then, show them how I built it, and then show them how I land on it so they understand what to touch and not touch. That's it. What's fun now is like when you see it like this, it's like, even though it's like a pretty simple design that I made, it starts to take on this new life. And this will be all over their stuff. Like, we should just go check their stuff. I don't know these guys all that well, and they were like, they didn't know me. That's really kind of fun, Like, there's no attachments. When you have the book and they've seen me or they've met me or they know my, like, look at this band. They've got a pretty good following, but let me see if we can see their, like, Instagriz or something. Look at this. Cleveland, Ohio on June, Detroit in the 4th. Who's going to see them in Detroit in June, right? I mean, you never even heard of them. Isn't that just amazing? They're going to sell like 5,000 tickets or something at like the Fox or something. It's kind of amazing. Here we go. They call themselves, it's a play on words, some death metal thing. Ah, man. Let me see if I gotta be careful when I'm logging out. You guys are gonna see passwords and shit. Let me see here. Instagram. Fun time to, be working for Meta. I'm not even signed in on this damn thing. Hold on. There's my little. There it goes. Okay. Oh my God. Just warmed over death 2 hours ago. My God. How to kill your readership and your followership and your listenership. Post that shit. Who cares? Okay. Let's look up old Panchico and see how they're using it, if they're using it. Because the paycheck cleared, Panchico Death Metal. 180,000 followers. Holy smokes. Look at that. And look at all the shit that's been that's being sold out. Hey. I would have made him a cute little perfect X that fit, worked with the grid and shit. But no, hey, I would have cost another $141. I don't even know. I would have done it for him, They were really sweet guys. So yeah, when you see this stuff like this, it's really exciting. Like here's a fun one just to show you. And I don't want to poop all over, some young kid working on something. But Stapleton has a pretty impressive team. He's got 2.7 million followers. It's terrifying. Their most pinned thing of the last 2 years was the little record cover I got to make for Chris, his 5th record higher. That took us 11 months. 11 months. I could show you what those comps looked like at the start. You want to see that? That'd be fun. Look at that. Tickets on sale now. Look at the gap between that N and the O. There's no way for me to be there to watch over every little ant and flea and tick that is just embedded into the soft flesh of Chris Stapleton's undercarriage. You see what I'm saying? There's no way for me to go and inspect that through the fur and all that. I guess I could, but things get away from you. Okay, let me take you on a little ride of the mind because this is a couple years old, let me go back and take a look here. Where would that even be? That's going to be in, I got to be careful what I'm showing here. People always say to me, who makes all your Instagram posts? And I say, well, it's me. Me. Well, who puts the border? I do, in a Photoshop file. I want complete control to tell you about to go buy that awesome Idaho record repress, this band I love from LA. Like, I want you to see that. And I'm going to go see these guys in 2 weeks when I get, the night before the colonoscopy, drinking the stuff. Who's had it? Yeah, how was it? Good to hear. I get a hangnail. I've heard, you should have seen the questions I was asking that nurse practitioner on the lead up, that patient woman, you know. How far does the thing go inside Aaron Draplin? I mean, how much cubic, you know, is there to this? You know, it's just stupid. Well, Aaron, it's about, you know, huh? You know, so, okay. Let's get back on course here, because, okay, I'm going to admit to a murder or something when you wake up. You see those TikToks they do where the guy says to the wife, "I never liked you." You see those? I've seen them. That's weird, you know. I've been jaywalking since 2016. Well, because you're all loopy. So, okay. Gotta be careful what I open here. Okay. So to go back a couple years and dig around a little bit, let me go back to the year of 2023 and see if that's in here. There it is. Okay. So this is all stuff I've added because the color palette was getting away from us. When they make it in the UK to go, they did their first European UK tour this last year. And then they went to Australia. So they had pressings down there of the record and the parts and the pieces. Little things like this. Like this is, they just call me Draplin, this is getting away from us. What's the, yep, here it is, little documents. These are things I've added on, but you can see anything that wasn't in that point up to that point, you know, they're pretty tight with the files because I have to be. Because when you start getting into where this stuff started and where it ended, it's crazy. For a while, the record was going to be called The Fire. For the first one, it was going to be called Mountains. So just to show you what this looks like, you know, here it is, round one. There's all my support files, stuff they gave me, and here it is. Now, so I show just sketches in my field notes. What if it's a silhouette of Chris? He doesn't like taking photos of himself. So like, what if we just do a silhouette, put my goopy mountains, or we could have it embroidered, or whatever. Carved into wood, anything. And what if that thing just becomes a strip? And what if that record has a hole in it, and you pull out this big blast, and you see it exposes this? Okay. You open it up to this big mountains vista, because they're sending me clips of my stuff and going, "Oh, we like this. What do you think of this?" You know. What if Chris is hidden in the clouds? What if it's more of a bric-a-brac thing where they're nonsensical, or maybe about each song, right? What if the montage was a montage of mountain images? Some are photos, some are illustrations, some are mountains. The spinning wheel reveal, kind of like that Led Zeppelin 3, right? And maybe it's, you know, because he had this thing called Mountains of My Mind. So you spin this thing and you get these different song titles, and that's what's going on in his mind. The cosmos and the love of his wife and children and daddy's hands and all that shit. I had to explain this to him, you know, like, here's what it's going to look like. And this is just the first spitball looks like. So we send that to Chris, and we keep on, you know, we land on it. No, let's just go a straight traditional, you know, gatefold. All right, cool. And we saw that one. So then I dig into like, okay, let's see some psychedelic stuff. Okay. So I'll just show you. It's going to be called Mountains, but see, we need imagery. Before we go hire some big, bloated, expensive photographer, what about those photographers you guys take on tour? Celebrate them. Because every night when you see a Chris Stapleton Instagram, that comes from one of two people. Andy Behrens and the gal who ended up getting the cover in the end. I mean, they're on the road with them all year long. But the stuff gets a little overlooked, right? So here I am with the B and C and D cutting room floor scraps that might have been 4 years old, 2 years old, or 6 months old, but I'm doing this, getting wild with it. That would have been an awesome cover. But we show them this stuff. We get some mountains in there. We get the lines that they like, some reference. I show, look at this weird little patterny thing. He's open to this. You know, whatever the tropes are, like whatever Luke Combs did a year ago, probably a half of his face. Go look, you'll see. Whatever Jelly Roll did, probably some little dagger tattoo on the guy. I don't know. You know, it's a big photo. That's a formula those guys do. Chris, he's not interested in that. You know what happens when it gets like real psychedelic and weird? Like that looks awesome up there because that'd be 4. You know, they can afford this. 4 spots, 4 fluorescent spots. Tone it back down to the desert. But see, this is the way this stuff looks. Okay, so I send this to them. They say, Mike, he's hemming and he's hawing. Can we just go a little bit simpler? Here's a couple of photos to work with. So now it's going to be called The Fire. That's one of the songs. So you can see here, I'll just try to get this as dramatic as possible. I get this photo of Chris. There's just a little smidge of Chris, and there's the fire. We're just messing with type and, scale. And going back to some of that Waylon and Willie from back in the day. They ended up going with some of that in that new record because they liked the device of having the confidence of listing all the songs and the titles and stuff. But you can see where I'm just messing, it's not Chris Staple with 5 Staple. It's Stapleton. You have to work with 5 characters and then, of course, 9 characters. The fire is what it is. Okay. You can just see me spitballing. But I'd rather show them when it's small, when it's big, when it's really big, like Jim Croce or something like that. That's too much for him. It's too much for him he doesn't like that. So, but no one ever showed them that for him to even know, right? That's where we landed. Put a big border on it. And then, of course, you'll see in the next round, put a little line around it, put a line, small, big, whatever, big, extra lines. The back cover, who knows? I just want to show him that I am versatile. And if he tells me to go up, I'm down. Whatever he wants to see. I am there to be the divining rod to nail it for him. It's unfortunate that designers have the pompous quality in themselves to think that they make the calls. Do that for this. Goofy little diabetes and sons and shit. Don't think that you're going to go and just plot around because who do you think you are? Who's a big awesome name? I don't even know. I don't know. Who was the one guy? He was actually very sweet from Austria. I can't remember. He did Rolling Stones covers. He has a book on my thing. What's his name? He's got the book with the dog, and the face changes into a dog barking, and the dog's... Sagmeister. Sweet guy, actually. I was kind of afraid to speak with him because I thought he'd be like this highfalutin designer. He's very down to earth. But if you want that guy knows how to sell that. I sell A to Z, and then they hopefully love Z, So check it out. Now we're into this thing here, and we're Draplin, make him smaller. He doesn't want to be up, whatever. We'll give you some new photos and stuff. So you can see me, he's real small now, and I just blast through it once again, keeping him small, and they like this. That's where we ended it, right? But it said Higher, was that Higher song. It's in there. You can see the Higher song's in there somewhere. They've had these songs, at that time in November of 2023, he had those songs done for 16 months. It's kind of amazing. That means he's working on shit right now that maybe I'll get hired for this November, maybe. I don't know. There's a cycle to this stuff. But that's what I show. I get them all excited once again, and then you'll start to see here, we start to refine down, okay? Now, I don't even know what happened here. Okay, oh yeah, try some different tones. Okay, green, because what we're doing is we're looking at his last record, which was all white, starting over. White. Let's just go dark. Let's get some green. We've never tried green, weird, psychedelic, whatever. Didn't feel it. Okay, let's keep moving. Why couldn't we do this? It's arbitrary at that point. We just want to make sure that when you're on iTunes, Higher from the next one. That's it, This is where we landed. And then you'll see they were like, Draplin, I think that's the one. So we're 5 rounds in, and I'll just jump up to a couple, where we're starting to refine this thing, and you can start to see here, there it is. But we're talking about, really getting the spacing right and showing them my spacing so they understand the decisions I'm making. And then what the singles are going to look like, because they have to unleash the singles for about 2 months ahead of time, every 2 weeks. Well, in the end, I built all that stuff for these guys. As part of my service, I'm not some big designer. I'm there to make every sticker for the Target pressing, for the the special brown one that went to then you start to see the record before we put the photos in. It was a real honor, take a look at this. We were going to try to do a Grammy nomination, but Charlie Brat Summer won. How do you compete with that? But here's me submitting all the stuff to say, is Chris's straightforward, this was my little thing right here. I said, other Chris Stapleton's albums you will enjoy. That's an old way of doing it. Like when you bought the Willie Nelson record in '67, it showed the last 4 or 5. It's an old tactic. No one knows that he's only got 4 other records, you know? It's awesome. So anyway, you know, to show what we went through there, you know, that does peel away some of the mystery and stuff, you know, but, you know, here's the deal. That's what their world looks like every night. And I'm talking sold all the way out. It's just amazing, you know? And when I tried to sell myself away from him at the start, I know it's naive to say that, who's gonna even answer this the right way? But my guy was like, I was like, just tell me he takes good care of the roadies. And he's like, he's very good to the roadies. He's good to us. He takes care of all the people in the office. Then I'm in. Because little baby Shooter Jennings, that's Waylon's kid, I heard the opposite. And I probably shouldn't say his name, but that's what I was told. So when they called me for T-shirts, I already knew. I don't care how much you're gonna pay. He's not cool to the people that put him out there. Plus he wears lifts. Anyway, we'll keep him because he's a little, sorry. Just be yourself, you know. All right, who's got a question? Let's see, okay, now we're getting warmed up. Let me go over to this little tiny little tulip over here. Hi, what's that?
I was just curious how you find the balance between what's trending and maintaining your own personal style.
Oh, God. Like what's trending right now? Like, here's a fun one. The complete abuse of the word literally. Call me a boomer, but you're using it the wrong way. So I look at a lot of the other stuff trending right now the same way. Farts in a stiff wind. What do you like to make? I wouldn't worry about the other things because you get caught up in pointing at things and you get caught up at, you know what I mean? The same old shit on TikTok and like, oh no. I haven't looked at any of that shit in so long. Like, come on, I know it's, you know, cat memes, come on, you know. But people are bored. So that's trending right now. People are bored and they're looking for answers on this stuff. I don't know. I get inspired by certain things and I make notes, but it's not necessarily the latest, hottest, coolest person that has the most links, likes, clicks, and all that shit, hearts and stuff. It's something I see at an estate sale or in the corner of the library where I haven't been in so long. That's way more interesting to me to find something that surprised me because as you get older, you can kind of anticipate the low-hanging fruit of the trends, and you just kind of, it doesn't even matter to me because I don't want to be concerned with it. You start chasing those things, and it gets really dangerous, you know. Instead, I would say, how do you balance that? Understand that sometimes to just be really versatile is what's important. And if you have to understand why the trends are, if you can sell that trend, make as much cash as you can. There's nothing wrong with any of that, right? But how do you balance that with your personal life? Well, you know, if someone comes to me and says, you know, what was it 15 years ago? Antlers? Those are cool. Remember the dripping paint? Yeah, 2006. You know, remember that shit? You weren't even alive yet. You know, maybe not. Maybe you were just little, but, you know. My dad used to say, Aaron, back when you were Aaron, you were never little. Anyway, you know, shit like that. But, you know, it's like a younger person's game to be fighting that stuff. So, what was the thing that was a couple years ago called brutalist design? Remember that? Stretch and type, and we saw that shit in the 90s. Right there with your journey. But if you can sell it to some numbnut clothing company, do it. And get that paycheck and smell it and chew on it a little bit and then go pay a bunch of tax to drop bombs on developing countries and change the names of bodies of water. Good quality things we're on top of. Yeah, fun times, huh? Yeah, fuck that guy. That's on the record. But allowed to say that, sorry for the language, but just disgusting. You know, I don't know. People don't come, they come to me for my thing, and I'll even warn them with that. I say, listen, I'm already making a lot of this. So understand that's just meant to be fun and dumb and just off the cuff and just maybe something you didn't see. That's my little journey, right? My little job. And they'll say, just do that for us. And then I have to say, well, maybe I'm holding that stuff close for me. I can't just go dip it in that because it is embarrassing how clean and mean and messed up it is. It's just meant to be a big dumb tooth because I'm afraid to go in and get my teeth drilled out, you know? Because I use this stuff to soothe myself in some respects. So, I don't know, you know, I know friends who are right on top of like, you know, the latest, coolest thing. But I always just kind of challenge them and say, hey, you know, you never show that in your portfolio because you're just kind of phoning it in. But you know what? I don't want to beat them up. You know, it's hard to make a living. And if you can understand that stuff on the 9-to-5 part of your life, then do it. But also, don't force that on somebody because it's cool and it's in fashion. Sometimes people just need a menu made, and it requires nice legibility from my mom to read it, who's a little older, and me to read it, who needs glasses now, and then someone who says literally the wrong way, you know, every other word. Yeah. You know, says a guy who hasn't had a tooth for 5 years. You know, I don't even know what that means, but anyway, I should get a new tooth. Okay, there was a question over here, right in the front. Yep. Thank you. Try to get a fun backdrop here.
Earlier in your career, if you did feel this way, how did you battle any insecurities or negative self-talk when
with a big whip, big old
Yeah.
with a belt with some nails in it, and with a big it sounds so weird, a tree branch. I would hit my you know, I know. Well, first things first, imposter syndrome. Quit measuring yourself against these big names and shit. You got to see this mess today for a couple hours. You saw what it looks like, the files look like, you know what I mean? I know I'm an anomaly. I was on a podcast, and this kid was like, well, what's your legacy going to be, Draplin? And I said, I want to be a skin tag on graphic design. I want to be a diseased little growth. I want to be a polyp on the internal, because I learned what a polyp is. And you have to snip me at some point, which is coming, you know, on this big podcast. Because who would answer that and be like, well, what I'm thinking is, who do these people think they are? I'm a working person, right? So when you reduce it down to that, it will take the pressure off of you a little bit. If you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a day job? Okay. And your job, is it the most romantic job? Do you love it? Do you don't like it? All I'm saying is I'm fishing around here because they're not going to let you do exactly what you want, and you have to be okay with that. But versatility comes into play. You know, you can come up with lots of options and let that soothe you. You know, I can't battle what my face looks like. I make jokes about it, but I also try to accept me for me, because that's another battle you have to kind of, you know, the universe gave this to me, right? And the same thing with certain amounts of talent. Some people can just nail it until you look at their files. And you realize they're in the muck just as much as you are. They just have a little bit different polish that you're not seeing, right? So understand that not all that glitters is gold. And if it's for you to say, I've been having a hard time making, I'm just going to throw it out there, logo designs. Well, then just make a logo for your buddy. Have fun with it. Get weird. Discover something. And that, you go up a little notch, you know? I did that for years. So when I actually got to make money with this stuff, it wasn't a big deal. I knew how to take a hit. I knew how to get demolished and then pick right back up and be a good little diplomat and citizen and get it done. But also be careful with imposter syndrome and a big 120 pump lube of that stuff. You know, having a rough day. You know, got that imposter syndrome. I got creative block and get it into all the nooks and crannies and folds and flaps and shit. You know, be careful with that stuff because it's too close by everybody to be like, I have imposter. I had that. Just keep making, just for the joy. If you're having just one day, to boil down, you're like, I'm having a hard time today. Stop. Take a walk, clean your files up, do the recycling. I've been playing with my Legos, you know, and I deflect because it's harder and harder sometimes for me to get through a tough project. But I know how to do it. You know, I know how to trick myself and cleanse myself and not freak out and then get back into it the right sort of lethal way, you know. So I also understand that, like, that wasn't even a term that we had 30 years ago. There was this another term. It wasn't believing in yourself, right? We didn't have the pressures of social media to measure against. How does a kid who's got 1,000 followers go battle someone with 200,000 followers? By putting in the time and sharing it and showing it, and someone hopefully will see it and see his perspective, because you're going to send that shit to me maybe, and I'll do what I can to get it to my buddies who work with the Foo Fighters. I know them. I got their book. Let's try it. You see what I'm saying? Like, why not? So, equally, to be contrarian for a second, every project I sit down on, it's scary. You know what I mean? And that's just being true about it, right? When the shitter was backed up, there's a true life scene. And I had to, really measure it and go get the right tool, and that was in the backyard. Look at the phone blowing up over about some meeting about a meeting, or, Aaron, we love it. You love it? Yeah, Aaron, here's the list of changes. Great. Oh, Aaron, it's perfect. It's literally perfect. Yeah, you don't say. So just first of all, don't beat yourself up. And also don't slather that shit all over yourself too easily. Here's a fun little story. Today on 23, there was a little section with some construction. And, guys putting out pylons to me that do some work or shovel some snow or something. And I just always think about this. The guy who's putting down the pylons, if he doesn't put down the pylons, he loses his job. So there's just there's no such thing as pylon block. You know what I mean? If you don't put the pylons on, you lose your job. Think of design the same way. I need to come up with a bunch of solutions. If I fall on my face, I'll go make 4 more solutions, right? But I got to get it out there in front of them. I can't hem and haw and get creatively blocked because I might lose my job. So see what I'm saying? It's like when you reduce it down to just being a little tradesperson, I find that it makes it like a bite-sized thing I can wrap my head around a little better, and I feel better about it, and I get to work. And if I can't nail it right out of the gates, well, then I have to push on it. And then if I have to have I need help talk with the client, you call them up like a human. So, when I make the thing, like if Devin's like a super professional agency or this guy's a buddy, I try to set the tone at the start if I'm having a hard go. So I can tell them I'm having a hard go. And they'll be cool about it, So I don't know if that helps, but I'm always asked about it, and I understand I'm never going to just pounce on a kid who's having a hard time or a person who's having a hard time. It's too easy to do that. It's just more like just don't beat yourself up and, enjoy this stuff, because this stuff really does help me, chasing joy or chasing paychecks. There's a time for both. But all we ever do is chase bills, you know what I mean? Well, I took every fucking job I could in the aughts and got out of that, so I didn't have to be in debt, But I'm still up against it, I have to work later tonight, you know what I mean? So I don't even know if I'm going, I should answer another question. Does that help any? I hope so. And just go easy on yourself, and then don't move to Portland, Oregon when you do figure it out, okay? Because it's getting tough out there. They're getting off the bus, and they're just throw a rock and get a logo design. There was other hands up before. Let's get into overtime here. We'll get you. In the back there. Yeah. With the guy who could use a new hat. There's a whole table over there. Thank you.
I saw a folder called DDC Book 2026. Can you
did.
talk about that or show us anything?
Maybe you should go back
that?
to the oath you signed. No. Yeah, I'll ask you guys as an open forum. The book did really well. Pretty cool. And I could show you what I did the last 10 years. Or you could just look on my Instagram. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, what do I have to show? Because when your book does really well in 2016 when it came out, and then did really well in 17 and 18, they want to go right back on press 18, 2 years later. But I know enough designers who have a bunch of watered down books. I couldn't do it. So I'm really kicking the tires on what a decade book would look like. And I don't want it to be certitude, but what if it was a workbook? And it came with vellum, and you learned how to sketch. What if it came with how how to label your files. And it's like, you guys, I want to make enough money on this book so I can quit. But take this with you before I do. You know what I mean? Something like that. What if, here's a fun little thing to think about. When you work for a publisher, I got 11%. So I got this plus a little shit nub over here, a little wart on this finger. 11%, 89%. I'll make my own book the next time. Those are lessons you learn. But I was on Abrams Books. They probably have a copy here. It's still on Amazon. It's a big thing, but you learn these things. But what if some of these printer guys I know, I called in some favors, and I advertised a certain kind of paper, where the French paper people, there's a couple signatures on that cool green or some weird orange, one color, talking about how to use one color in dynamic ways. And I have Jerry French or the Finch folks or whoever, give me a bunch of orange paper to cover that signature. And in the end, I get enough ads and shit that I would actually use in my life to where the book is free. And it's just like, buy some merch and you get this next book, because I don't even care about the money. Of course I do, but I'm not giving it to a publisher again. You know what I mean? So it's a weird thing. It's like, I don't know. How could I do something and have a real impact and not just be show and tell again? The first book was a chance to say, this is what I got away with. Up to 2016, 15, Well, there's been 9 years since then. So, do you want to hear about what I did in the pandemic? I shared that pretty openly. You see what I'm saying? It's like, so that doesn't feel as exciting to me. I don't want someone to have to go buy that, Instead, it would be like, how to get a free iPhone cord when you go to a hotel. You just go to the desk and say, I left my iPhone cord here. Well, I was here 2 weeks ago. And she goes, and the lady opens a drawer filled with iPhone cords, and you go, I'll take the orange fluorescent one with the USB. That's it, That's how you get a free one. You know how you get a free Big Mac? What are the towns around here? So if you're going east and you go to Ypsilanti, you go to the first McDougal's in town here and you get a big bag. Come on, Johnny. Me and you we can go kick some ass, Get a couple Big Macs. I call it the scene of the crime. Because, every time I go in there, I'm committing some family crime that Lee's going to. Do I smell French fries? No, honey, no. So you go to the first one, and I'm just making shit up, on Huron Avenue, and you get a big bag of bullshit McDonald's, okay? And then what you do is you go to Ypsilanti, and you go to the first McDonald's you see, and you pull into Ypsilanti, and you go, listen, back on Washtenaw and Huron, I'm making shit up, on Stooges Lane, at the McDonald's there, they left out my fillet of fish. And they'll go, oh, and they'll just go and give you a fillet of fish. So that's how you get a free fillet of fish. But when I was 20 years old, in 1994, 21 years old, I was with a bunch of Oregon, not even hippies, like their parents are like rainbow people, you know what I mean? Just sponging off the system straight up, drugs and who knows what else. And these kids were raised in that shit, and I watched a guy eat for free every other city, all the way down to Las Vegas from Bend, Oregon. And this is before, I don't even know, they can get in trouble for that. They can go and go, did someone miss a fillet of fish? Beep, 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 UPC code and uplink, downlink, and then they can tell, or something. But these are like weird grifts. It's like, what part of graphic design did I learn that I could just say, stay away from large agencies for these reasons? There you go. Start your own. Here's what you ought to think about. Here's what to know about your taxes. I'll tell you a story about when I screwed up, that kind of shit. So I don't even know if that sounds interesting, but, it just would, well, thank you. Buy 2 copies, buy 2. Well, here's the deal. What if it's only $19.99? I tried to make my book $19.99, and it doesn't work. They $44.99. Fine. But I get $4.50 of that. You know what I mean? Somewhere. It's weird after a while. So that's why when I got my advance, I just bought as many books as I could get for that. Because I'll sell them and make more money on the road. And then they got all skeeved out because then I went and got my orange van and went on the tour, and it didn't have an Abrams on the van or on the little extra book we made, the little slipcase I made. Because, hey, kid, that's publishing. until you sell 77,000. You know, it's just weird. So, you know, it's like I gave one of the last talks of the tour in New York City at Abrams Books. And John Gall, my editor, was there, and all these, you know, Marty Malavany was there who would go, Aaron, you know, these New Jersey people, Aaron, it's selling. Oh, all right. And she's very sweet, and she was there, and I was eyeballing her. And then old man Abrams, some CEO guy, I can't remember his name, I met him, he's a 65, 70-year-old guy, stood up and he goes, Aaron, great, because it was selling. At that point, maybe 8 months into the thing, we were at 22,000, and I was told it wouldn't go over 4,500, I'd be lucky. So we were doing good. He goes, Aaron, what are we doing next? And I went, self-publishing. And I swear to God, people were like ducking. Oh, because here's a whole book company. I said, you guys gave me 11%. I told you I'd sell the 4,500. What am I supposed to do? How about share the shit with the... Sorry, I sold better than the cookbooks, because you know what sells well? Cookbooks. That's what I was told. Those are like constant sellers because they're updated all the time with the latest. Oh, what is that shit? They put foam on things? That's fun. You know what I don't like about Portland, Oregon? Stacked food. Food that gets stacked. I don't like it. It's an old joke. Anyway. Okay, what was I talking about? That's cool you saw that, because I probably shouldn't have that in there, but I don't know, you know. It's a weird thing. When I got the call for the book in the spring of 2015, I tried to sell myself away. Like, why? That's not heroic, but why is that my instinct? Because I didn't need to do it. See what I'm saying? And they couldn't handle that. Draplin, what are you talking about? This is your big shot. No, my house is paid off. And that's when they came after me even more. So it'd be the same sort of weird spirit to say, if I'm going to do it, every kid who's, you know, we gave out so many books on the tour, you know. And one time in Indiana, I think I was supposed to give money back or something. They sent me books. I'm supposed to sell them and give some money back somewhere. Fuck, I just gave them all away. Gave them all. What are you going to do? Go get the money from these kids in Indiana? Everyone take a book. I just don't want to, whatever. Because it was like I don't know, something. I'd just rather do that maybe, you know. Or let's say it's one big PDF. Because another thing about books is you got to carry them around. It's like so sad. I want to print things and make things and use paper and do things and do stuff. But it's like, you know, those books are 4 pounds a book. You know, this poor lady carrying that damn thing for an hour while I was telling lies before, you know, I'll get to it. But it's like, what if it's just this weird folder of stuff you can come grab for a download or something, or all the money goes to help, I don't know, you know, people who need help. I don't even know. There's lots of ways to do these things, but it has to be something that's compelling. And, you know, that's when I could just hear these guys, like, you're leaving all this money on the table. What if I didn't do it? It's okay. Just live my life. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the big stuff is kind of covered. What if I didn't do anything that summer? So I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's like I get excited because I've had opportunities, but also not every time that's the best play, you know? When you start saying shit like, I'm just going to make it so it's free because I was paid by a bunch of advertisers that I believe in, that could happen. That's how you get magazines sometimes. It could. We used to do it with a snowboarding magazine, you know? So I don't know if that sounds interesting, but that's where my little thinker is. And I piss off people all the time when I start talking like that because they're going to bring in, you know, we're going to make some app out of it. Stop. There's a kid once a year writes me and says, Draplin, I got a big thing to pitch you. What do you got? Field Notes, the app. I said, I got a thing called a pencil right now. It's sharp. It's sharp, use that, you know, how's that? Because an app, it's not supposed to be an app, but I get it. Well, Aaron, you could take your drawings and catalog them and put them on. Just go get a stick and get in the dirt and just draw in the dirt. And then, like a caveman or some shit, you know, like something fun about that too. So I don't know, you know. Okay, you got to get me back to speed because now I'm getting all in the muck and saying I quit. You know, who can give me a ride back to, are we done?
We are just about done. I think we can take about 4 more minutes. So
Okay.
If you have any final words for the audience, sorry to be a buzzkill, everyone.
Okay, any other questions? I saw some hands. Let's make it come on, Devin.
How do you make the mental switch
How do you make the mental switch between working on client work and your own personal work?
Oh, well, one comes with a big paycheck sometimes, so that has to get done first. That's priority. Mental switch, that's the stuff that keeps me up at night. So it's in your craw and you're sweating it, and the only way to get done is to power through it sometimes. So it's more of like, I make a commitment. Tonight, I'm going through every Steely Dan record. It's about 6 hours, right? And something like that, like tonight, who's just the worst band in the world? I'm gonna listen to every Greta Van Fleet record in the whole world tonight. Maybe the one where they wear the little sequins in their hair, Maybe where the lighting costs more than the entire budget of my friend's entire career as a heavy metal band, But they had cute outfits, those turds. Okay, no, I'll just stack up 6 records and be like, I'm gonna listen to these. I'm gonna be here for 6 hours because I gotta get this thing done. I know what it's gonna take, and sometimes that's tough, but you power through it. And I, stop 2 hours in to go do a little bit of recycling. Stop at 3 hours in to go out. I gotta be careful what I show. I'm gonna turn this off for a second and find something fun. Because there's a shot of me in between the house and the tough shed. It's 1 cubic Aaron Draplin, and I'm pissing in the wind, and Lee got the shot because I go out there with the raccoons. And I got a picture somewhere, but I probably shouldn't show that. Anyway, and I just do one of these things where I won't even show it. I'm just out there, and and I go like this, no hands! And I look at Lee, and I go, look at that! And I wasn't even peeing, but it's because I talk about this on these podcasts. I save a flush, So those little moments of dumb and levity, I just make little games out of like trying to get real, like, what do you call it, mindset? That's a buzzword right now. Sometimes you just got to power through things and give it your all. And that's what you got to do. I'm proud of that. But other times it's like, I've learned if I get a project on a Monday, I'm starting Monday night. I've learned that lesson. Just get the sketches, get the notes, get the folders built. So when you go down, start working on Tuesday, just to get a jump on it, because it's due on Friday. So I'm saying, like, don't wait till Wednesday and Thursday. So. But the mental switch, in the mornings, I try to do something fun every morning. That's what I call it, like a warm-up. You'll see them on my Instagram, like, oh, this is some little design I made. It's just a warm-up. I can show you what those things look like because they'd be in this thing called a randoms folder, right? I gotta be careful what I show here. Oh man, I gotta be careful what I show. You gotta be careful. Because like this is the kind of stuff, it's like, just make this little guy, it turned into a little sticker that said, cowboy wisdom, hope you're always on the ride. It's a lyric from something, But like, this was just a sketch, Lee and I put her hand for the other hand, driving down the road in the orange van, a little DDC van, But there's little things that just little studies I'll do. That's a fun one. Boop, 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 ba-doop, boop, meow, Gotta be careful what you show. Isn't that fun? I had to get extracted out of that thing with a medevac. But see, these are little studies. This right here was from this Asian market we went to, and it was this awesome logo. I took a photo, and I went home and rebuilt it. That's a warm-up I do. Because I am removing myself from good or bad, or cool or not cool. Believe it? No, precision. 3 circles do this. Let's open it. 2 circles do that. Keep track of it. See? How fast can you rebuild that? That's what it looks like, all the base pieces. By the time you get to this thing right here, you learned a couple lessons of how to efficiently get that thing down to the perfect amount of points. See, watch. There's some extras in there, but that's the kind of shit. So the lesson there is like, that's not about being cool. I'm getting limber, and that's a fun little thing. Now, if something comes out of it, cynical like this, or a fun little fish, okay. Thanks for coming. Come at 6 o'clock. Come to the merch table. Load up on things. Be nice to these lovely little wildflowers right here, okay? Be extra nice. Thank you for listening. Did everyone have fun? Come tonight. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming today.
use your phone just to take the payments.